Here we go. Let's see. And yeah, so it'd be good to actually like push this out a little bit more because I was listening to some of the older ones and they are funny as shit. So, and it's kind of funny when we kind of go through like, things that are changing in our lives and whatnot. That show up there on the podcast. This is actually a little bit low.
What do you mean?
Well, actually, your voice is fine. Fuck.
Well, I was just sitting next to the thing, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's good now.
Okay.
So, yeah, like one of my other channels was actually experimenting with, like how they have those soundboards that have all the...
Oh, yeah, the mixers.
Yeah, the mixers. Yeah, actually, I started to understand that shit a little bit.
Did you buy a mixer?
No, I didn't buy a mixer, but here on OBS, there's a plug-in that you can do that's a mixer. So I was poking around with it a little bit. So
I thought you had gone full-blown sound engineer.
No, man, I don't have the degree for that.
I think anybody does. I think it's all just word of mouth and training with somebody who knows it.
YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, or you knew a guy that... he toured with Dawkins in the 80s, so he's like, I know what all these do. Sit down with me for an afternoon, and I'll show you how to...
Right, yeah.
It's like, this is the 144. This is the...
See, I don't even know what that is, yeah.
That hurts. It's the different
okay.
gates.
Got it, yeah, but no, it wasn't that complicated.
Wait, you bought a high-end sound system before, didn't you?
Oh, when I was a kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a pretty fancy Kenwood receiver at one point in time.
Did you ever fiddle with the individual, like the most distinctive breakdowns within there?
No, man, I was 14. I max bass and minimum treble kind of thing.
Oh.
It made Metallica sound better. I don't know.
Did it? Then why did you set it to rapper settings?
Well, I didn't know that was rapper
settings. Okay. All right.
All right, we're live. I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
Jeffrey, what are we doing?
We're doing coffee before bed, but we're talking about how to adjust the sound settings to adhere to our race. Because, Patrick, I don't want to catch you listening to music on rap settings. You listen to rock. That is what you shall set your presets to.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, it's down, up, down, yeah, or no, up, down, up, yeah.
You can,
yeah.
If you need to, you can change it to sports, or you can change it to news,
or stadium, yeah.
Stadium. But I don't want to catch you switching it to rap. That's not for you.
Yeah, that's down, down, up. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I guess.
I do your wish, but cultural appropriation is a thing, so.
It is a thing. Or is it?
No.
Yeah,
no,
I didn't think so.
Dude,
yeah.
I eat ramen noodles. I eat,
ramen?
I eat ramen noodles. I eat,
yeah.
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti, yeah. Quesadillas.
Yes. Yeah. Spaghetti, and
Yeah.
For me to start, breaking down individual things within just common behaviors and saying these are culturally one group or another is just absurd. I can't look through this and say it's like, oh my God, I paid taxes today. What?
Oh yeah, I must be white. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
This is dumb. I hate that very concept.
Yeah, I mean, like, my whole wedding was culturally appropriated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so all we did was, like, Chinese stuff. The entire thing.
Yeah,
we had Chinese food. So our wedding cake had Chinese symbols on it.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was all themed based upon, like, the fact that we got married on New Year of the Year of the Dragon.
There you go.
Yeah, but we were just into it at that point in time.
Just because it seemed cool at the time, right?
It seemed very cool at the time. Yeah, now granted that was a long time ago. My marriage is officially old enough to drink now.
Congratulations.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, but still, at the same point in time, I mean, it just didn't like there was no like consideration behind that.
Why should there be?
Well, exactly. Yeah. I don't know, man. So there's been so much stuff going on about that this last like 2 weeks. You seen all the things that are going on with Joe Rogan and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what do you think about that, man?
I think this is the biggest kerfluffle over fucking nothing that I've seen in quite some time. This
So
is.
did you see the interesting part where some of that was actually funded by a DNC PAC?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There's no part about. Look, the amazing thing is that they have been calling Joe Rogan far right for years, which is absurd.
It's crazy.
The only possible way that you could say that is if you've not listened to 1 minute of his program.
Yeah.
Some jackass actually took the time to compile a list and say, here's where the bias is. Look at the list of right-wing candidates versus, or not candidates, but guests versus left. And,
well, they're overweighting Alex Jones. He's been on the show like 4 times.
Well, that wasn't even it. It was where they were categorizing each of the people, right? So they didn't even put Bernie Sanders on left or right. They just omitted him. Yeah.
Well, Cornel West was on his fucking show.
they put Tulsi on the right, like she was running for president of the Democratic Party.
Right, she was in the primary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just absurd the way they were categorizing this, and the fact that look, there's a serious breach here. The fact that the executive branch of the United States government was calling upon Spotify to kick him off the platform.
All right, yeah, I gotta have a little bit of a mea culpa on that one. So I've not had that much of a problem with Joe Biden, but the fact that Jen Psaki is his like mouthpiece and he actually flat out said that
straight up.
I heard that on another podcast. I was like, no, that's fucking bullshit. Then I went back and looked at it. I was like, oh no, that's not bullshit.
Word for word.
Yeah, word for word.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you're not doing enough, so to speak. Well, we'd like to see you do more. I think that's what the phraseology was.
It's insane.
It was horrifying,
that's
man.
Clearly a breach
of the First Amendment. Yes. Yeah. So, and I mean, I will actually defend like Twitter and Facebook in some respects because they are commercial entities.
Mm-hmm.
So, who are governed by their own boards and stuff like that. Yada, yada, yada. Not like explicitly controlled by the government. But when like Jen Psaki comes out and says something like that, that just kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Yes, you assholes are actually just, you're wiping your bottoms with the Bill of Rights right now.
Well, yeah, specifically the first sheet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I mean, that kind of, I don't know. That gave me a moment of pause. So, like, I mean, we've talked about how the box cutter crew is taking over Blue Plane.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're actually still flying it right now. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, I agree. Well, at least segments of it. I think the most reasonable parts of it have gone into hiding, and
well, they haven't had a let's roll moment yet.
No, they're not. There's a lot of us that are just kind of lying low and either waiting for the right moment to put the knives in their back, or to say like, well, if we don't hide, we'll be executed in our sleep.
Right. But is it like a Wile E. Coyote moment? I mean, are they like really overstretching here? I don't know. The whole like them going after Rogan and Spotify, which is ironically also owned by Google, which owned YouTube. So they just basically moved one property from like one store, the South store, to the North store,
right?
Kind of thing. So they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. But then to see like, Psaki come in there and say that, I don't know, man. It seems like an overreach, and it seems like, well, it woke a lot of people up this last week.
Well, it is an overreach, and the problem with this here is, how did you hear about that?
I actually heard out about it on a different podcast that I watch. So there's these guys that I watch daily who do like a daily news program. And they're a little bit pro Rogan, but they also like they'll bash on him from time to time. Yeah. But they unanimously came out and said this is horseshit. This is obviously a hit job. And then they traced it all the way down to that pack. That's the DNC pack.
Yeah.
That's controlled by a couple guys out of Los Angeles, kind of thing. And it was like, oh, well, shit, all you had to do was pull up the incorporation papers on that shit. And, I mean, it's not like... I don't think they would be stupid enough to expect that could be hidden. So, I don't know, though. I mean... But, I mean, it just blew up all over my fucking podcast feeds this week and my YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
And shit. So, because, I mean, I keep tabs on Glenn Greenwald, and he fucking, like, went honey badger within less than 12 hours. Yeah, on that shit. And so, it was kind of one of these things where it was like, oh, okay. So, is this actually a BFD? And then if you look at it, and then... So you have the press secretary of the president of the United States actually saying, yeah, I know, you know, we would like to see more, you know, in this direction. It was kind of like, oh, well, fuck. That's weird, man.
Well,
so,
yeah, that's the issue that I have here is that you heard about it from what would be essentially unfairly described, but would be essentially alternative media, right? This is where I have this is where I have a problem with the distinction of how the parties are broken down. Because if there was such a thing as a quote-unquote liberal media, and by liberal I mean not fucking lunatic.
Like ACL, well, that doesn't even work.
No, those guys have gone off the rails too.
Yeah.
Those guys are like advocating for censorship, which is bizarre.
That is
you guys
insane, man.
Used to defend the Klan. But,
it's like fucking upside down world.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is... In any version of events, if anybody from the White House, under a quote-unquote actually liberal media, had said something like that, they should have been raked over the coals by every formal news media outlet. But you heard about it from essentially what is known as alternative media.
Yeah.
And, of course, part of this stems from the fact that the biggest, member of alternative media dwarfs their entire...
Rogan? Yes. Yeah.
Dwarfs their entire... their entire base.
Actually, the first place I think I saw it was, and I don't listen to this guy that much, but Lex Friedman, who's kind of in that. Do you know who he is?
I've heard the name. What is he?
So he's this MIT AI guy who kind of got like pulled into Rogan's circle like maybe 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
And so he started his own podcast, and I got hooked on his podcast because he had Dan Carlin on his podcast. And Rogan hasn't had Carlin on in fucking decade, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, like, he's been in the whole Brett Weinstein and Jordan Peterson bullshit and stuff like that, and then those guys I could give two fucks about, to tell you the truth. But he actually posted up like I stand with Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And it popped in on my YouTube feed there as just a post, because they do that now. And I was like, what happened? And so then I had to follow the rabbit hole, and all of a sudden a couple of these other channels I subscribe to, including Greenwald's, were like, oh, blah, 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 blah. So you're totally right. I heard about it through alternative media. It didn't show up on ABC News that night.
No.
Yeah.
No, it didn't. And I'm telling you that if CNN and MSNBC were actually quote-unquote liberal institutions, then... Again, I'm telling you, 20 years ago, that would have been a bloodbath. That would have been...
Oh, George H.W. Bush? Or no, not even H.W., but...
No,
Junior. Bush Jr. Yeah, if Junior done that, they would have been all over his ass.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. Well, and you would have had, like, Fox News, like, covering that entire thing, too. Like, oh, no, it's fine, blah, blah, blah. But... You didn't even see that in this case. So.
Oh, no. Because if that were 20 years ago, Fox News, right? Then the perspective would have just been, what's a podcast? Like, why don't you...
Turn on your TV.
It's like, thank you very much to all 4 of you listening, right? Look, I was there. You know what it was like. It was,
yeah, I do.
It's like, well, you people are on a different form of media that makes it to be mocked. You guys like Dungeons and Dragons?
You hang out on message boards.
Yeah.
You use the intranets. Nah, it was kind of wiggy, man. I mean, there was just a piece of it that was just like completely out of the blue with that whole sake thing.
Oh yeah.
Well, and like I said, man, I've actually stood up for. I still will stand up for him on the whole Afghanistan thing and stuff. I'm still looking forward to that memoir of somebody in the room when he told the Pentagon to shut the fuck up and get the fuck out. You know,
There's no information coming out about that too.
is there?
Yeah.
Okay, what'd you hear? I haven't seen anything about that.
I'm gonna have to look more into it, but basically, there's that version of things that you're looking at does not look like it's the case.
Oh, my version?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the case?
Basically, it's.
Did he have a stroke?
No, he didn't have a stroke. It's basically like it was just completely poorly organized, and he was at the center.
Okay.
So I'll
But
get.
was it based upon the fact that he just wanted to get out? So,
No.
oh, okay.
No.
All right. Well, we'll have to wait. And
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, okay.
Again, I've just seen like rumblings out of this, but evidently there's some stuff that's been uncovered on this. So I don't know, man. This has actually been a crazy week in politics in terms of that thing here where your greatest enemy is some dude that used to be on Fear Factor.
Right.
And people are saying like we have to censor this. Like why? Like if you are so threatened by this, just turn it off, right?
Well,
but
duh. Yeah, exactly.
but the version of this where people are getting the wrong message, that's fucking up to them, right? And on top of that, here's the data that came out this week. All right, you know what's been happening with the mask mandates. You know what's been rolled.
Oh, they're
back.
peeling off like left and right.
Of course. And why are they peeling off?
Because, like, I mean, people can see with their own eyes, man. I mean, I don't know, man. I work at a university, and so, like, they're still a little bit, like, head in the sand about it and stuff. So, but my daughter hasn't had to wear a mask since, like, the beginning of the semester.
Oh, yeah.
So, have they had, like, trouble finding subs and stuff? Yeah, that's because people get fucking sick. That's what happens when you get COVID, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, fundamentally, like, the whole idea of keeping a lid onto the entire thing is just, like, it runs contrary to what's actually going on out there. Because it just can't be happening. I mean, like, fucking today, man, I was out with, like, 4 different groups today. So I met with my dissertation advisor, okay, in a place, actually a really good place that I want to give props to, which is way up in Flying Horse. It's called Walter's 308 Pizza or 303 Pizza. It's really fucking good. I had the best meatball sub I've had in a long time today. So
Did you try the pizza?
no.
I mean, you're not obligated to, but anytime that there's
Well, if I see a meatball sub on the menu, I'm gonna try it.
oh no,
So yeah.
this is not a judgment. I just
Yeah,
like
okay.
I know for me is if I go to a place that is named after a menu item, I always have to try out the menu item first. So
Okay.
I can't go to Popeye's Chicken and Biscuits for the first time and say just the catfish.
Right, yeah. I'd like a
Right.
salad, please.
Right.
Yeah, well, fair enough. I just wasn't feeling pizza.
No,
all
no,
right?
that's
So
fine.
anyway, it was really good. But anyway, the place was really small. It was packed. All right. So I go there, I'll do my thing. I got chewed out by my dissertation advisor a little bit today because I got to get cracking. But whatever. All right.
Oh, I thought you were picking on you for the sub.
Well, she's not going to pick on me about the sob. So, you're going to sit there and judge me based upon what I eat.
Well, I kind of like my version better, where she's talking about your dissertation. She's like, yeah, whatever. What is that you're
What is
eating?
that you're eating?
What are you ordering?
Yeah, this is a pizza place, son. So anyway, you go there, and then went downtown to meet a few people. Went over to the bar tonight because we got a going away party for a guy. And so I've probably been in contact with 40, 50 fucking people today.
Oh, okay.
All right, this has happened to me several times over the last, 3-4 months, let alone the days I actually teach fucking class. All right, do people drop out because they have COVID? Absolutely.
Sure.
Stay home, heal up, drink your soup, get your fucking electrolytes in you and things like that.
Yeah.
And if it's bad, and if you don't have the vax, whatever, okay, so maybe it'll turn out really bad for you. But fundamentally, I mean, it's just like super flu. You know,
Yep.
not no like Stephen King's Stand version
No,
of super flu,
fucking
but
Captain
yeah,
Trips, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so, like, even with the campus, like this semester, we've had so many people on the staff who've been out. Okay, that you just kind of live with it now at this point in time. And so, like, when they're peeling down mask mandates, and they did that down in Pueblo County, like maybe 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But the school is still like, no, you know.
Right.
And the same thing is true with schools around here. My daughter hasn't had to wear a mask since the beginning of the semester. So, but up at the college, they're still doing it.
Yeah.
And they have email wars about it all fucking day. Every time it comes up, it's like, hey, can we actually peel this off? And the answer is no, because blah, blah, blah. You know, but really, it is that like signaling thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, more
Yeah.
so than anything else. But I think the vast majority of people out there have gotten kind of wise to this. It's like, okay, fine. If you got the Wu flu, I don't want it, so stay home. It's cool. We'll cover your job, whatever, you know, kind of thing. So, you know, but, you know, yeah, I mean, it's not like the beginning of the pandemic where everybody was kind of like together on this and we're like, okay, fine, we'll stay home for a few weeks and stuff.
Well-
But they're just trying to drag this out at this point in time. You know, and so Joe Rogan has a couple guys on there, and I listened to both those episodes. The one guy is kind of quackish, so, but the other guy is actually pretty fucking solid. You know, I mean, he's like very level-headed, and he's trying to be like really straight up with people on it. And so the fact that like this entire chunk of like a certain segment of society that I don't interact with, other than the fact that I don't turn on CNN,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
just completely flipped over on that and got the White House to turn around and say like, oh, well, you know, I mean, you guys are doing a good job, like putting warning labels on this like they're fucking cigarettes, you know, your episodes. And then, you know, then after that, well, actually, you could do a little bit more. I mean, that's horseshit, man.
Well, I mean that was the piece of it. I mean, there's more afoot here than anybody's giving credit for. And I'm going to tell you that the biggest, I got to tell you, the biggest source of this comes from the actions that are going on in Canada right now. So,
Oh, with the truckers?
Oh, yes.
What's the whole story behind that? I don't know the whole thing. I just seen that like Canada blew up with like fucking truckers like parking trucks all around like
blew up. Is
yeah, the
blowing
Canadian
up this-
capital. What is it? Ottawa?
Currently-
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's happening in Ottawa. It's happening in many. It happened in Alberta. It happened in all sorts. It's happening all over that country, right? It's happening in France right now. It's about to happen in Mexico. It's
It's about to happen in Mexico?
uh-huh.
Oh, really?
So this is the really scary thing, and this is, I'm telling you, this is why. Look, 2 weeks ago there wasn't basically a hard blue area that wasn't like masks for everyone. What, are you trying to kill my grandmother?
Right, but New York just peeled that off.
Today.
Oh, okay.
Today. They did.
Okay.
So the issue here is those mandates in Canada are falling left and right now. Okay? Because those are done by...
Wait a minute, I thought the government was fighting that.
Well, so here's the thing. There's some... I learned some very interesting things about Canada recently, but the
What, do you
government...
have students in Canada, or?
No, just reading.
Oh, okay.
And did, like, conversing with, Canadians on the internet and how their law works and all that stuff. But, so, like, their regional groups are doing away with the mandates, okay, as these protests are coming.
Now, is this the vaccine or the masks, or both?
It is the mass. The whole thing started about truckers and basically requiring like vaccine mandates and stuff for like border crossing and all that stuff like that, right?
Was it into the U.S. or out of?
Well, it's both. Like,
Okay.
because you go one way, you're going to come back.
Okay, fair enough.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
So the issue here, and this is where like 85% of these truckers are vaccinated, but they're standing in solidarity. They're like, this is horseshit. This is something that you can't do. And so there hasn't been a single act of like recorded violence by these guys, but there has been to these guys. And all they're doing is just clogging up the streets.
Well, what
And-
kind of like acts of violence to them? What, government violence or?
Yeah, the cops are now starting to get involved.
Oh, okay.
They're coming in there and like confiscating fuel. They're arresting people who are bringing fuel to these people. I'm sure you heard of the GoFundMe kerfluffle.
No, I saw a little blurb on that. I did not read it. What's the GoFundMe kerfluffle?
The GoFundMe kerfluffle was that for the Freedom Convoy, which is called, there was a GoFundMe set up.
That's called the Freedom Convoy.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why in France,
Kind of on the nose, man.
shit, man.
Yeah, sure.
In France, it's the same thing. It's like Convoy de Liberté.
De Liberté, yeah.
So
Convoys sans frontières.
yeah, what I can tell you is the GoFundMe shit is gonna get them in big trouble because GoFundMe has and Patreon and all those other groups, all sorts of crowdfunding have played pretty partisan for a while, right? So for the truckers, they put up a GoFundMe to support these guys, and they raised like $10 million in like 4 days.
Oh, wow.
Okay, now GoFundMe evidently gets a call from, the Ottawa police, and they're like, "Can we do something about this?" And
What,
this,
like shut it down?
not just shut it down, bro. This is where
Confiscate the funds?
this is where things get really fucked
Ooh.
up. Okay, and this is where
Okay.
you're talking about 3 changes in the course of a day. Okay, first thing they said was, okay, this is being shut down, and we are going to disperse the funds to a charity of our choosing. Now,
The Ottawa Police Foundation? Yeah.
well, no, okay, so why can you not do that, Patrick? Do you know?
Why can you not do that? Well, isn't it the original pledge has to actually go to the... Yeah, okay.
Number 2, you cannot, if you collect money for a cause and then give it to another cause,
Oh, that's illegal. Yeah.
way illegal,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Because their first, here's the thing, they didn't want to issue refunds on this because they didn't want the funds to be sent to another group where they could basically, subvert this, right? So, about 20 states had people from like their prosecution offices, right, reach out and say,
Don't do that.
it's like the fuck, it's like, and we're still going to prosecute you. So
Yeah.
what they done was they said, all right, you can request a refund, okay? However, if you don't do this by February something, we will donate this to another cause, right? Later that day, it was all refunds are going out to all people who could get them in 5 to 7, business days, which is still weird because typically their refunds come much quicker.
Yeah, instantaneously.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, it's this whole like, what are you doing? And it's you're trying to stop people from actually getting these funds from another place. Now, has this been useful?
Oh, yeah, so you would just kick it over to a different Kickstarter
Correct.
or Patreon.
Now-
Got it.
What happened was there was another service, I think it's called like Go Send Go or something like that. I can't remember what it is, but they raised $6 million in even less time.
Holy crap.
And that's what I'm telling you here is
Yeah.
people, like, they're not giving enough credit to what's going on in Canada because it is fucking up their economy something fierce, right? Not only do you have all these truckers not working, but they're also blockading these cities, right?
Right, yeah.
And so that's what I'm saying is all these individual provinces in Canada are individually saying, all right, we're peeling this back. We're peeling this back. We're peeling this back, right?
So
And
they're caving.
100%.
Yeah, but the
now,
federal government is not on... Well, the Canadian federal government
Right.
is not on board with that.
but
Got it.
Trudeau is still saying that these guys are like insurrectionists, right? Even though they've done nothing violent, right?
Well, it, in theory, should be within their purveyance to do that.
But it's not. It turns out that it's not.
Because Canada has a national healthcare system.
No.
Oh, okay.
Because-
Sorry, that was just a guess.
No, this is something that I did not know is Canada has basically a. I want you to imagine that our Constitution has a Bill of Rights, right? And
Well, it does.
you can picture that.
Yeah.
All right. But I want you to picture that at the end of the Bill of Rights, there's like the last line of it is unless something happens.
So they don't have a 10th Amendment, is what you're saying.
Right.
So the 10th Amendment here in the United States is the one that says anything that's not enumerated within here belongs to the people.
oh no, it's even worse than that. It's even worse than that.
Okay.
It's basically you get these unless we say you don't get these.
Okay. It's a very British thing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's something where are you with them or are you with your neighbors to the south, right? Which one are you taking
okay,
from?
got it.
Right. So that's the whole thing is
How close to Detroit are you?
yeah. So for all other time periods, it's fine. But if the government says like, well, this is a problem, then we can enact this, and all of this is null and void.
Right.
Which is why in Ottawa, this is what I'm talking about. This is why this becomes absurd. Is you have people driving in trucks, they're hanging out, okay, they're blockading things. This is all standard protest stuff, and they're honking their horns.
Right.
Ottawa has declared it illegal to honk your horn. Because evidently you could do that. You can look at
You
something.
can just like get your 4 council members together
It's a law now.
and
It's
say you can't honk your horn.
correct.
Huh.
This is what I'm talking about.
So is Canada borked by this, or like is it one of those things where like I don't know. I guess I'd have to ask somebody from Canada because I don't know how their government works. I assume it's like the British government where
You assume right. Yeah.
okay, so somebody could vote
Parliamentary.
no confidence in Parliament and they could completely flip over the Trudeau government
Well, yeah.
next
and
week.
you
So they
it-
don't have to wait till an election like we do.
Now that part I'm not sure on. I know that they do have a
Okay.
parliamentary system. I wouldn't be surprised on that because technically, I mean, they are still part of the Commonwealth, but
Well, yeah, that doesn't really mean it.
Doesn't
It
mean
just means
shit.
you have the queen on your money.
yeah. But so the big to do on this, right, is why here in the States, why now? So the issue here is if you take a look at the quote unquote science in the past week, right? So when they break it down and they say, all right, here's the list of things that would have gotten you banned for spreading misinformation. Okay, number 1, saying that this came from a lab in Wuhan. Well, there's a lot of evidence right now.
There's
that
a ton of evidence.
says
Yeah.
this probably did, and it probably happened here.
Yeah.
No apologies. Then you have the next part.
Actually, the diplomatic community is kind of flipping on that one a little bit. They're tired of like fucking China saying no, 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 no.
Well, no.
Yeah.
I mean, here where we clamp down, it's like, no. This is not something.
In the
that came from
beginning,
lab.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I think you
It
can
was
still get
definitely
banned for it.
NHS and Fauci doing that. Yeah.
The other part where they came in there, they said, "Masks
And
do
Peter
nothing."
Balzac. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they said masks do nothing. Well, the science is out. It's like, well, they don't. The only ones that actually pertinent, is the N95, whatever. It's like, and those like cloth masks are worthless. Got banned for that.
Yeah.
Then the next part of this here, where it was, not just the mask, then it was the potential health risks of the vaccine.
Well, before that, ivermectin, horse dewormer.
Yeah. This is also, it's like, and every single one of these things is coming out. It's like, well, actually, there's a lot of truth to this. Now,
Right.
here's the thing: is right now Canada is getting crippled by this. Okay, so in 2 weeks, this has turned this place completely upside down, and I can guarantee you right now, there are people in our nation's capital that are saying that cannot fucking happen here.
I don't think it will, man. I mean, you got 50 different states. I mean, even our governor has basically thrown his hands up and said, fuck it.
Well, no, no,
You
no,
know,
no, no,
yeah.
no. Here, yes, they treated it very reasonably,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Go to California,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This is the big play on this right now. The information on this is basically with the midterms coming up, they're polling so badly
It's bad.
that it's like we have to roll this back. And on top of that, the message has been our plan worked. That's why we're rolling it back. Oh,
Oh man, that's like that's a little bit of syrup on a lot of pancake.
oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was the other thing. Was that was the other data that came out that said lives weren't saved by lockdowns. They
Yeah.
didn't actually do anything of value.
Yeah.
Right, and
That's going to take some serious research, but
I
by the
understand.
time everybody does that, it'll be done and past, and the narrative will already be over. You know.
And yeah, that's the thing right now is
Yeah.
the momentum that's going on there in the European Union, in Germany, in Mexico, in
What's going on in
France.
Germany? I thought they were actually pretty stable right now.
Not a chance. Because
Really?
yeah,
Are they
because
still under lockdown?
yeah, and on
I
top
haven't
of
talked
that,
to any of my German students in a little while, so
yeah, and the new fucking vampire in charge over there is he's made it clear. No, like he the dude is very
every
outspoken about
German
it.
chancellor has been a vampire.
He's made it clear. You can look up his statements where it's like, no, the people who are unvaccinated need to suffer, and I need to make them suffer.
Yeah, that sounds very German.
Like, well, and this is the thing is, well, I mean, if some dumbass said that here in Tennessee or whatever, fine. But in Germany, sorry, man, you guys don't like. You guys got to be on like double decker nice for another 100 years. Don't say shit like this. Just be like, all right, we'll handle it. But can it?
No, I think they're over that. It's just like Germany's got a compliancy complex. And I've noticed that in my students in the past, where they not all of them, in fact, not even most of them, but a good chunk of them wanted to stay in the United States just because you get a job at,
Right.
at the Volkswagen plant
Oh, absolutely.
in Greater Armenia, Romania. You're gonna be manning that front desk for 10 years before you get a promotion.
Right.
But that's just the way everybody does things.
And you'll get a promotion when it's time for you to get a promotion.
Well, yeah, you'll get your just desserts,
Yeah.
kind of thing. But yeah, it is a little bit different. So I don't know, man. I was actually paying a little bit more attention to the Ukraine thing this week.
Yeah, that's a conflicted story right there.
It's kind of weird, but so I actually saw a fairly interesting like take on it the other day where like so Putin's not a good dude. Okay.
No.
He's not. He's not like Kim Jong Il bad where he machine guns his like opponents with
Right.
anti-aircraft artillery.
No, but he'll poison the shit out.
He'll poison the shit out of you, and like he does have this inferiority complex that comes from the Cold War and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And so he's done a lot of fucked up things. Okay, and so you have to hold that thought in consideration with the fact that, like, all right, so we should probably not paint NATO right up onto his ass. So,
Right.
and so, but then again, if you look at it, the Ukrainians and like maybe not so much the guys in the east, but more so like the rest of the country, the vast majority of the country does have a reason to worry about this shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to have like these three conflicting thoughts in mind at the same time to actually kind of get your mind through it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's not like and the thing that these guys pointed out was like, all right, so whatever media narrative that you're going to hear, it's just like the media narrative you hear out of Israel. All right, so Israel is like this advanced nation that's produced a lot of good in its own right, okay? And so that's cool. Israel B also does very bad things to people. And then finally, Israel C is in a really rough neighborhood within the entire world complex.
Right.
And so these are
Right.
three conflicting problems that you run into. Okay. And you'll hear a narrative which always emphasizes one over the other two.
Absolutely.
And the same thing's going on with the Ukraine right now.
Yeah.
So does Putin need an out? He probably does need an out, all right, to climb down out of this tree. Because we've kind of he's a cat in a tree right now.
Yeah.
So, but he's a very dangerous cat who could actually start World War fucking III.
Good.
Kind of thing. Probably won't, but could. Kind of thing. Is he a bad dude who, probably should be brought to justice, at least within his own country? Yeah, probably. This is also a legit point, but, these two things, they live in the same universe at the same time.
Right.
And so you can't just push one over the other. So it was kind of an interesting take on it that I heard. So
no, I mean the Russians that I've talked to, the Russians that I talk to now, I've had this discussion. I mean, I asked point blank. I was like, "Is anything going to happen there?" She's like, "No, nothing's gonna happen." And again, this is not the first time I've heard him described that way. It's like he's just a gangster. That's exactly who he is.
Yeah,
and there's some truth to that because if you think about it, so. A gangster can control a block via subversive methods, right?
Yeah.
Via
Nice
influence.
place.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to keep it that
right?
way? Yeah.
But what you wouldn't do is you wouldn't take a gangster and say, go occupy a country. They're not equipped for that.
Right.
Right? And if they tried, that way you would lose. You would
Yeah.
lose. This is the thing is they've talked about the troop amassments and they've looked at the Ukrainians. There are Ukrainians out there that this is a hardy breed, dude. This is a
Right, yeah.
this is a subspecies of human that you and I can't fuck with, and they're just like showing like like I give machine gun to grandma, right? And they're just and she's just perfectly
Drop landmine on door.
Yeah. She's just like, use time, right? And she just pulls the bolt back. And basically what they said, so the Ukrainian president came out there and said, it was like, I don't think anything's going to happen.
Well, and that was really interesting twist that happened this week where he's like, everybody chill the fuck out, especially you guys in the Western media. Chill the fuck out about this.
It's like, you're going to make it worse.
Right.
But he made it clear, it's like, I don't think anything's going to happen. And he's absolutely right, if there was some kind of prolonged military action, there are two big consequences that happen immediately. Number one, they get tied up in the Ukraine indefinitely with no solid objectives. Number two is the minute that happens is all diplomatic and economic relations with Europe stop right there.
Yeah.
And that's why he was saying, like, I'm not going to do this. It's like,
right.
He'd be killing himself to do this. He'd be just wasting all the there's no winning this.
Right.
Right. So, and that's when I realized, like, oh, okay, no, that is what gangsters do. Every now and then they walk around, they puff out their chest. They're like, yo, check out this gun I bought.
Yeah, but you're not gonna knock off the First National Bank down the road. Yeah, exactly.
Nope.
Got it.
Nope.
Yeah.
So there is a component to this where, yes, nothing is likely to come of this. However, that's also a really shitty behavior because then you turn around and say, hey, asshole, I understand that you are, vile gangster Jabba the Hutt and fucking you're gonna get choked out by some bitch in a chain, right? And that's exactly what you deserve, right? She's gonna fuck your whole day up and you're gonna deserve every minute of it. But you don't just let that slide. There's a version of this where like the immediate talk should have been, hey, this thing you're doing, right? This whole thing you're doing of putting forces there to intimidate your neighbors like gangsters do.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah, knock that off.
And then when he's like, I do what I want, right? I roll with like 5 gangs, right? It's like, you say, all right, well, then you do it on your own.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Then he says, but who's going to buy oil? It's like,
nobody.
It's like,
China.
Like, if
Maybe.
you want to sell to them, that's fine, but you're not going to get a good deal out of them, so
they're
you
gonna
might as
jack
well
you.
just put it right back in the ground where you got it.
Right. Yeah.
And so, all right, go after yourself, and
Yeah, that one seemed to, like, after the Ukrainian president came out and said that, went from red alert down to yellow alert.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. No, you're right. It's been an interesting week. So, well, and the week's only half over, man. So,
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Wednesday.
Yeah.
Weird.
There's
So,
plenty of week left to fuck up, but yeah, just the whole idea of turning around and saying like, no, this all worked because we planned it.
nobody thinks that.
There's a
Yeah.
version of this where you guys just think that people are the stupidest.
Yeah. Well, that's like the number one thing that the ADV guys opened my eyes about with China was that like nothing is actually planned out like 40 years in advance or whatever. It's just completely like survival to make me look good in the party right now. Yeah. Once I started realizing that, I see so many of these guys show up on even some of the more respectable like, podcasts and stuff that I listen to where they've got China so mispegged on that
Oh,
stuff.
they're ready to blow them. They're just like, oh, look at these guys and how they do it right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's just like, no, it's like, yeah, you were led around the nose by the nose on a press tour, like 2 years ago. You don't know anything about this joint,
Oh, for God's
And
sake!
God dang
yeah.
if the Olympics haven't been full of that shit, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, it's been terrible. But I mean, good on some of these. So, like, I do read the Wall Street Journal, and they pump out like anti-China articles every fucking day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they are kind of on a mission behind that in some respects, but they're the ones who broke the one about the fucking noodles and the orange slop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just like some of these like little things where it's like, well, actually, that all really lines up with that podcast that I listen to.
Oh, for God's sake! When they actually when they showed the tennis player saying that no, there were no
Oh yeah.
and there's a picture of her fucking goon in the photo in the mirror.
Yeah. Yeah. Or when they tracked her down and she was standing next to who was it? Who's the basketball player? Yao Ming?
Oh, did she actually pose with?
Yeah. It's like, oh, what are you doing hanging out with Yao Ming? And just like, oh, I'm just going to a practice, blah 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 blah.
Right.
And it's like, most staged fucking thing ever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it's just it's like one of those things where once you kind of like, it's not even that thin of a veil, but once you take it off, it's like, oh shit, all this makes sense,
It's
man.
pathetic.
And it is. It's really
It is
juvenile, man.
Utterly pathetic. And
Yeah.
no, and you and I have talked about this before, where you never stop trying to roll back basically the veneer of government actions or societal actions. The goal is to get as close to reality as possible,
Sure.
and for all the shit the United States takes for it, we're actually the forefront of honesty in this.
We are so fucking good at it, man. Because everybody in this country, okay, so the whole cancel culture thing and stuff like that, fuck that shit. But regardless of that, man, if you actually do try and pull some bullshit, you get millions of people on your ass right off the bat.
Oh,
Yeah. So, and I mean, I don't know, just watching some of the shit that's been going on in China kind of made me realize that, so it's like, okay, so Jeff Bezos is going to bulldoze a fucking bridge in the Netherlands, and it's all over fucking my YouTube feed, or not even my Google News feed.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so if somebody in China did something like that, it wouldn't even show up, man.
Nope.
But here everybody's like, oh, look at that motherfucker, let's dogpile his ass, and it's it does make me appreciate a little bit of that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And for me to know that that in this country we don't fly in people from other places. We're like, see America for yourselves, right? And we don't
Take them just to Disneyland.
not even just to Disneyland. So we don't we don't make commercials saying like, come see for yourself. And then, you know, the people, you meet them at Denver International Airport, right? And there's a squad of goons there who say, come, let me show you America. I'll take you to an American high school. And then they drive straight through Denver, right past Aurora. They go to like Cherry Creek, and they say, this is what American high school is
this
like.
is an American high school. Yeah.
Right.
So they drive you to the top of Mount Elbert and say, this is our vistas.
This is our vistas. Yeah. They say like, oh, come with us. They pile them in, and then they drive to Estes Park, and they say, this is one American's backyard. Right. You know, it's... So we don't do that here. So the number one thing is like, well, come here yourself if you want.
Yeah, check it out.
Yeah. We're not going to tell you where to go.
Yeah, you can go to the greasiest pizza joint you want.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's the level of transparency here in the United States compared to other fucking faux regimes around the globe, especially ones that people love to suck the dick of right now. Is oh, look at these Chinese, look at this technology, look at this bendy bus, look at this
the bendy bus, the train bus that was built in Germany. Yeah,
they just built this. So it's like, look at these high-speed rails. I'm like, they're bankrupt. They can't even pay for it.
Well, and they don't even carry that many passengers. So,
well, certain stops do.
Yeah,
right. But the whole setup here
seems like a really badly designed version of a city in Skylines that, you know.
The worst.
Yeah, exactly.
The absolute
Where it's
worst.
like, I'm going to build a train here just because I want to build a train here.
Correct.
It'll look cool.
Absolutely.
In a screenshot.
Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, so if you're doing the developers' pictures, like the bull shots on the back, yeah, I gotcha. But just this whole thing of the train is actually named like the money hemorrhage, and like, and again, it was when they broke it down, because the whole thing was like, well, it's the fastest. Like, okay, yeah, it's like, but how does physics work? Say, all right, so you have mass,
Right.
Okay, does it take more or less energy to move mass faster?
Well, yeah.
It takes more.
Yeah, a lot more.
Right?
Yeah.
So when the whole thing is, this is the fastest one, and it goes all the way out here, and it's burning 3.5 times more electricity than something going just 100 miles less.
Yeah.
Which is still fast, right?
But it's not the fastest. And
Right.
so we got to build 6 more coal plants.
And so,
Right.
Exactly, and then suddenly you're being like, well, I don't want to pay that for coal. It's like, all right, fine. You don't get any.
Yeah.
We set the prices here.
Yeah.
And then, so you're running this, you're running the AstroTard Express, you know, from here to here, and you're burning through electricity, and you have the Chinese people in cities, they're like, you're running an empty train.
Well, yeah, they know what's going on. Yeah.
My house is so cold.
My internet doesn't work. Yeah. Why are there power outages at the hospital? So, yeah. No, it just seems like a really badly designed city in Skylines, man. It's like all those mistakes that you'd make in the beginning of the game. You know, it's like, well, let's just bring the thing in fucking highways.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It'll solve all our traffic, but it doesn't do it at all.
Buddy, there's a reason that in Skylines, you don't get to take out all 3 loans at the start of the game. And that's exactly what they did. And they cannot pay for this shit.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that we're winding up starting to pay for some of that. So, yeah. I don't know, man. I haven't seen Mark Blythe pop up in a little while.
Nor have I.
I want to see what he has to say about inflation. So, he's my go-to Scottish economist. So, you know.
Yeah. I know where he tends to lie politically, but I also know where he lies economically. And sometimes
he's pretty
those
solid.
things, sometimes those things intersect, and sometimes they don't. And
I think that's when he becomes unpopular and doesn't actually get his lectures posted to YouTube.
That could be it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me one bit, because there's a part of this. I remember that he was on the go vax or die trying, crowd there for a little bit.
Oh, was he?
He was,
Oh,
but
okay.
but to his credit, it's his way where it's just kind of,
Yeah.
uh, guys, this seems like the most sensible answer. Why are you fighting it, right?
Okay. Yeah, I do remember him saying some of those things
Right. So
with Carrie.
yeah,
There.
nah,
Yeah.
nah, and I'm not gonna bag on anybody because I don't argue with that position. I've made this clear. I'm like, look, it's available if you
Hmm.
want this, right?
Yeah.
And then yeah, when I saw the charts of, well, here's how the mortality rates actually line up against the flu, and it doesn't actually
Mm.
eclipse the flu until you hit like age like 47.
Yeah.
And
I've seen that graph.
the whole
Yeah.
thing was like, we knew that the second week of this.
Yeah.
And even then, you'd look at that space up there, and uh, it's not even that much of a significant change. But still, I'm not downplaying it because people do get sick and it sucks,
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah.
right? So
Well, that's the natural consequences piece of it too, you know. And I mean, I don't know. I've seen a lot of people make that argument about like, pushing towards like herd immunity and stuff like that. Now there's like, this new narrative out there that's like, well, that's not going to fucking happen. It's because these fucking 15% of the population that won't get it. And that's bullshit.
that's
Yeah, it's
utterly
complete.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous. So, but on the flip side of it, I mean, the one narrative that I wish I heard more about, but you don't really see out there, is like it does involve death.
Of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so you're gonna blow chunks into like well, not like last week's podcast blow chunks, but you're gonna
Oh,
knock
yeah.
holes in the population here and there that are going to have effects. And we're seeing that even with the employment market,
Mhm.
where people are like, fuck that. I'm not going to go to work unless I can stay home.
Yeah.
Or other people, it's like, oh my God, I'm like, I run Joe Blow's fucking meatball shop. I can't find someone who's going to work for me for $5.75 anymore.
Yeah.
Or $7.25, whatever the fuck the minimum wage is. Okay, so you're going to lose your fucking meatball shop. All right.
Yeah.
So because all right, he's willing to actually go work for like the call center up there
Yeah.
that'll let you work in your basement and have a GED.
Right. Right.
So I mean, those are the natural consequences that are just gonna fucking happen. And so I see so many people like I listen to Dave Ramsey almost every single day when I pick up my daughter, and they just bitch incessantly about how people no, I don't want to work and blah 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 blah. And it's like actually no, actually motherfucker, you don't pay enough.
Right.
And
Right.
so you're just getting out competed for labor. All right, it's no different than like out competing the guy next door because he's got a better meatball sub than you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Exactly.
So, but
Yeah, it's true, and that's the point. And to take a look around at it in the alternative, and to blame the either the people or the consumers to turn around and say like, oh, so Joe Blow's sawdust subs aren't good enough for you guys, huh?
right, yeah.
It's like, nah, man, there's way too much sawdust.
What do
in
you
there.
mean this foot long isn't $5? Yeah, yeah.
Shit, I mean that
Yeah.
that house of cards fell apart pre-pandemic.
Pre-pandemic, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, but that's just the way it goes. So even like today, I was talking to like this guy. He's a good friend of mine. He used and I worked at the old college and stuff. But he's a banker and he can't find tellers, man. So,
Right.
and it's like, well, what do you pay? And, he told me, I was like, yeah, well, I don't think I'd work for you either, man. Kind of thing. And it's like, I love you, brother. And you're probably running a good ship. Take care of your people. But, yeah, I mean, if I can go get a work from home job, so where I can still take care of my kid and not have to spend money on gas, well, then, yeah, you're just not
Yeah.
competitive. And it's not that you're a bad employer. It's just you're not competitive, in that market. And so, it's the same way as like sourcing a supplier for something now, man. You got to
Yeah.
pay him. So, I don't know. I think Blythe would probably come down a little bit on that side of their argument, just knowing who he is. But I think he would actually like start to reject some of the whole modern monetary theory stuff. Like where the Fed can just print money indefinitely because
Right.
yeah, that's
right.
just not panning out, man. I've even started to see it. Like they say that like gas is going to hit $4 a gallon this summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, piece of cake. I mean, it's not good for a lot of people, but it's going to do that. So
Well, yeah. So on top of that, the they actually canceled and have stopped issuing leases to drill in the Gulf.
For where?
In the Gulf.
Oh, Gulf of Mexico?
Yeah.
What, the EPA or the government?
The administration.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, we got to cater to the box cutter crew.
This is
I was in charge of
man.
They're in the cockpit of Blue Plate now. I mean, like maybe like 3 months ago, I thought they were a fringe thing, but now that I start looking at it, especially what Saki said last week, I was like, oh fuck, man. So they're actually in the cockpit. And they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna crash that plane into anything valuable.
But they're going to crash the plane.
But they're going to crash the plane. That's true.
And it turns out the plane is expensive.
The plane is very expensive. And meanwhile, fucking red plane is just sitting on the tarmac. It's not doing nothing. You know? They booted out the Orange Menace, so we'll see if he actually forces his way back on.
Problem. Yes.
Yeah.
It's on the tarmac, but what you have is it's not even a fist fight, right? It is just a couple of dudes in red shirts with their arms out saying like, come at me, bro. Come at me, bro.
Yeah.
Because there's not actually a fight here because nobody's for sure who's going to assume leadership of this.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, man. So Don Cheeto's got to make a move here soon. Otherwise, he's going to be out. So, because DeSantis, like, yeah, he's kind of like moving into that orbit where it's like, well, you can crown me the Black Prince of England at this point in time because, you know, the fucking previous king is retarded.
Right.
So,
yeah.
you know, he might take it. Even McConnell the other day, like I told you years ago, man, he was just waiting for a chance to stick that knife in the back. And he's done it like several times now. And so just the one the other day where it's like, well, actually, I think that was an insurrection. That was just like another twist to that knife in his back. Yeah,
I know.
You know?
No, he's over there practicing acupuncture with a fucking Rambo knife. Yeah. You're
Right.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that motherfucker, I mean, so like, I've seen like stats or like up down odds on this one. So, you know, house money is on like red team taking the House, but blue team maybe keeping the Senate. Although there's a dude in the Senate, I didn't know, and I haven't seen this at all. No, he didn't flip. There's a guy who's out right now because he's got like a fucking stroke or something. On blue team.
No.
And so like Joe's not even getting his like fucking Supreme Court nomination because this dude's out. So, and it's 50-50. So now it's 49-50. Kamala Harris can't do shit in a case like that. Yeah.
Right.
So like, I mean, and that was like, you didn't hear anything about that on the mainstream media. So.
Well, that's new to me.
Exactly, man.
Again, that's the problem.
But there's a dude in the Senate on blue team who's out on medical and it's indefinite right now. So.
Yeah, he must be fucked up.
That's what I heard, that he is fucked up. And so like, you know, they're sitting here like running themselves ragged about like, oh, what black women are going to nominate to the court when it doesn't even fucking matter because they don't have the votes. So.
And what? So, bro, okay, so you've done your share of hiring. So this is where you say the quiet part out loud and the loud part quiet, right? Behind closed doors, what you do is you say, all right, interview 10 people or look at 10 people.
Sure.
Okay. If all things are the same, lean towards the black chick. If there's a big difference, take who's the best.
Yeah,
but
I've
if
heard
they're
that.
the same, right?
Yeah.
Lean towards this because we're awfully shy on this. Give that.
Sure, yeah. Well, it'll
right?
be easy to get the approval on it or something like that.
Right. What you don't come out there is say like,
oh, I'm going to hire a black chick.
I'm only looking at black.
You know, the fucked up thing about that is that
stupid.
Bernie Sanders is actually the guy who painted him in that corner because Bernie Sanders made that promise during the primary. So
well, fair enough.
Yeah,
right?
no. I'm telling you, blue team's got its own like form of brain AIDS.
You know? That's the worst.
That is absolutely
worst.
like you know, like it's all of them in some respects. You know, but still at the same point in time, yeah. I mean, so that like there's supposed to be like this Indian dude who's on the DC Circuit Court who's supposed to be like a shoo-in, you know, because he'd actually get some Republican votes.
Right.
But yeah, Joe painted himself in a corner here on this one, and now that this other dude's out, he might not even fucking get it, you know, which means that you have an 8-person court for the next 2 years. So, because if they don't get one confirmed this year, of course, like Mitch McConnell, if he gets in charge of the Senate again, you're not getting another one, dude.
Nope.
So,
Nope.
but then like there's this whole thing that if we actually had a conservative court, the country would like devolve into slavery again. And it hasn't happened, man. So,
Well, there is,
like literally repeal the 16th Amendment.
well, don't get me. Okay,
15th
look,
Amendment,
man.
yeah.
Let me put it to you this way. As far as I'm concerned, we still make it an issue, but I thought we'd sorted out reproductive rights a long time ago, and I do mean just because when it comes down to it, look, the way that it was ruled before, it left it in a place where, look, this isn't the Soviet Union. You are not forced to.
Right.
It's
not China. Yeah.
It's not people that want these can get these. And from a Christian standpoint, okay, the fact of the matter is it is not for you to judge.
Sure.
Okay? Your job is to like go in there. It's like, well, I'll pray for you. That's cool.
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
That's fine.
Yeah, but see, that's red team kryptonite.
I know.
That's the one thing.
The fucking bat signal.
It is the bat signal. It's the one thing that if the court actually were to flip that over, would actually change the entire math for this fall.
Yeah, so don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
Just don't do it.
Yeah,
but
I don't think they can help themselves, man.
There's a part. Like, there is a piece of this where the fucking like Roscoe P. Coltrane brain of the red team.
I've got the guys to do it. I'm gonna get the Duke boys. Yeah, exactly.
As soon as you have
do that, man.
As soon as you have the guys, you're like, do it, man. I'm gonna flip it over.
Yeah,
I'm like,
put the Duke boys in jail.
your job right now is to be like, nah, man, you don't have to bake a
Red
cake.
plane needs to stay on the ground. So,
You don't get shot at when you're not flying.
that's correct.
I mean,
you don't
that's-
attract SAM missiles when you're on the ground.
Don't.
Yeah.
The surface to air, man. But yeah, just like lay low. Right now, I'm going to tell you,
That is such a good analogy. It's so perfect.
sorry, man. Like right now, the team blue, right? The internal rot. Okay, the liberal leukemia or whatever you want to call it right now.
Leukemia? Okay, episode title.
Okay. Blood cancer, I don't know. Whatever you want to call it, it is doing its job right now of taking what was once a healthy host body, and the thing is, even when the leukemia wins, the body still dies, right?
Right.
And that's what their problem is right now. They're letting that section of this devour the party because there's no part of this that functions. There's no piece of this. Again, this is where like the GoFundMe crap comes in because they go out there and they'll post it. So like, okay, so you tore down this. Okay, here are people. These are GoFundMes for people that you're bonding out, bailing out.
Yeah.
Who assaulted people because they were part of BLM because of this. I'm like, so what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And then they're like, the whole argument here is like, you don't like it, make your own, Kickstarter. And then they did.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And you said, okay, well, now we actually raise more money. What are you going to do? When fucking, I do not know how this is going to work out. But the fact of the matter is that the Rumble guy said, hey, Rogan.
Yeah.
100 million for 4 years. We'll never censor you.
Yeah.
If he signs, it's done.
I don't think he will.
I don't think so because he's absolutely right in a sense where like he's done some apologizing, but he hasn't like formally. His version of apologies, and this is the thing that is so fucking dumb, is MSNBC or whatever, they'll come out there and say like, Rogan, kowtows. It's like, no.
No, not really, if you watch the apology.
The apology is essentially, I'm sorry you're all so ugly.
Well, kind of, but he's also, like, he has this ability to pull off something that, like, is very rare in media these days. He's actually earnest about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you just watch it, and if you're like somewhat remotely human, you can kind of see, oh, okay, yeah, okay, so fine, you dropped N-bombs. Who hasn't dropped N-bombs? Okay, so, but he's like, okay, I did this on the podcast. I haven't done it in many years because the podcast is fucking a decade old. You know, at this point in time, I'm a comedian, so why are you taking advice from me regardless?
I agree.
You know, kind of thing. But at least he seems like, you know, earnest about it. He's like, yeah, I don't fucking use that word anymore. You know, kind of thing. And it's so funny. There's another podcast that I watched that has John McWhorter and Glenn Lowry on it. And John, these are the two black guys, and both of them are academics. And actually, McWhorter's fantastic. I read his book. He has this whole book out there that's on, like, you know, this whole idea of racism being used by this woke crowd. It's an excellent book.
Yeah.
So, but he started dropping N-bombs like crazy on this one. And Glenn's like, whoa, whoa, what are you doing to my podcast? He's like, I'm using the word, I'm a black linguist, okay, in the context that it can be used.
Right.
All right. He's like, if anybody out there has, like, you know, a place to use this and the credentials to be able to do it, it's me. And I'm telling you that what Rogan was doing is fine. You know?
But no, the white liberals will decide.
Oh, absolutely.
It's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that was his point. That's why he was doing it. So, but still, at the same point in time, that's that internal, like, liberal leukemia that's going on, you know, where it's just like, oh, no, you fucking used it. And so, blah, 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 you know, it's just like this instantaneous. It's like, no, man, you didn't drop the Queen of Spades on this
you
kind
did
of
not.
thing. Yeah.
You did not.
So,
yeah, and again, if you watch the damning evidence, the clips, right? All but one example was done in context of I'm quoting somebody.
well, yeah, and the one was the Planet of the Apes one, right?
Yeah, well, and the other one was when he was trying to make a point to Greg Fitzsimmons. He's like, "You're not going to say it. I'll say it."
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't because there wasn't a version of this where he's like, "I'm going to say it."
Right. Yeah. He's not sitting there wringing his hands.
I know.
You know.
I know. This is where it becomes so absurd, and you're just totally missing the point. But you're deliberately missing the point. You want to miss the point.
Well, you're just taking sound bites out of it to actually stitch together your own narrative, which is exactly what everybody on YouTube Shorts and TikTok does.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, and that was like one of the points that McWhorter was making. He was like, well, if context doesn't mean anything, then, you know, all right, so fine. I can just make up whatever the fuck I want.
Right.
You know, in order to actually, like, score points on you. So I don't know, man. I mean, it's just, I think they're getting to close to a Wile E. Coyote moment. So
Well said.
yeah, and it's like, all right, so whatever this box cutter crew that's taking over Blue Team, they're gonna crash the fucking plane. So they're gonna crash the fucking plane, and they're gonna get their just desserts on the back end, and you know, depending on like whether or not they let the Orange Menace back on Red Plane. This country has a very different future in the next couple of years, regardless. You know?
Where okay,
So,
well, so the way that I picture this, and I think I've spoken about this before, is again, I've lived through it on both sides, where I have lived through two different crowds on the opposite sides of the horseshoe, because it is a horseshoe.
yeah,
right.
I'm coming to agree with you on
Okay,
that one, yeah.
because when you start coming to the same conclusions for different ideologies, it's a horseshoe. I watch the absolute lunatics on the Christian conservative side saying we have to censor everything for the good of the children. Now I've lived through this here, where these box cutters, as you call them, these quote unquote box cutters have come to the terms of saying, well, we need to censor this because you're not smart enough to figure this out like we are.
That's
right?
just the same argument, man.
And what happened here is
exactly the same argument.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is. You know it is. I know it is.
Yeah.
And this is the thing is, do we look kindly upon the conservative Christians who tried to ban all the violent video games?
Right.
Did violent video games go away?
The Tipper Gore crowd, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even though, yeah, she's Tipper.
Yeah,
But
I know, exactly. She was Blue Team at the time. But...
So was Joe Lieberman. I mean, this was this.
Yeah. he was the guy.
He was the guy.
He was the guy.
But these guys are the ones who came into league. Look, the same crowd got Charlton Heston to be on board with that, right? About yeah,
my cold dead hands.
Yeah, so I watched that come and go, and it's not remembered fondly, which is why I'm.
It's very cringe. Yeah,
which is why I'm starting to realize that this group that thinks they're fucking geniuses because they got a film studies degree from a community college, okay,
right,
is turning around and saying like, well, actually, you're not smart enough to discern the facts. We need to censor Joe Rogan. You guys are about to become that same fad group that people laugh at when you idiots took it too far.
Yeah, the South Park guys are going to make a movie about you dudes.
Yes, yes, they are.
They probably have it in the can already.
Well, this is the thing. Like, when you have guys that last long enough to make 2 movies about this, so you have...
Oh, right, yeah.
It's like, so you have Bill Maher's first movie about making fun of religious wackos, and now he's the dude turning around and saying, like, you assholes have taken this too far, right?
Yeah.
You guys have lost the plot, right?
Yeah.
And people are going to look at this period and say, y'all remember in those shitty years in the 2000s when there were like
2020s? Yeah.
Well, I would say at 2016 when Trump derangement syndrome kicked in and they're going to look at this and they're going to say, like, remember the pronoun wars? You remember the
pronoun wars? It's like the Clone Wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You remember those 3 shitty episodes that you kind of look on fondly now? Yeah, but I mean, the CGI is not as good as you remember.
Yeah, exactly. And so they're like, you're not going to believe this. So my mom, right? She told everybody at her work that she identified as a goat, and people had to say, like, yeah, I understand. I respect that.
Right, yeah. So, the pronoun wars, I love it.
And this is the same thing, is there was a crowd of people in the late 60s whose kids were named, like, Starshine.
Yeah.
You know, Neutrino.
Yeah, Paradise.
And stuff like that. Yeah. And they got laughed at. Right? And
right, later on.
Same shit where they're going to be like,
yeah, it was like, call me Deb. Right. Yeah.
And there's an eye rolling to it. It's like, my fucking parents.
My fucking parents.
Yeah,
oh, God, man. We even had a guy in high school like that, Paul. Remember his parents were flower children. So, yeah.
And there's a piece of that where it's like, my fucking parents.
Right.
Like, you know. And it's the same thing. There's like, you want to see a picture of my mom? I'll show you.
Right, yeah.
This is her on Twitch.
Yeah.
With deer antlers on.
Antlers licking a microphone.
And she's looking at you and saying, you have to respect me. Bitch, I don't have to respect anything.
Right,
you dress up like a deer.
Yeah, this is my mom on TikTok.
Right.
So, Jesus. Right. Yeah, I don't know, man. So... I think you're right about that, though. So the pronoun wars, the Great Pronoun Wars,
Pronoun Wars
of the
you want to capitalize that?
Yeah, the Great Pronoun Wars of the 2020s. So are probably coming to a close.
Yeah, well,
there's not going to be like a surrender on a battleship at some point in time. It's just going to be like. It's just going to be like die out after a little while, and everybody's going to be like, wait a minute, what were we fighting over, whiskey? You know?
It is, man. There's suddenly it's like Pokemon cards and big Jinko jeans. Like someday you're just not wearing those. Nobody declares when it's over.
It's just over. Yeah, it's totally over. Yeah, it's like when the parachute pants go away. You know, all of a sudden realizes, like, actually, that guy was kind of a sellout. So,
right.
Did
you know that guy used to sing country?
He used to sing, he grew up in a church choir. Yeah. So.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and
the Great Pronoun Wars.
And it's funny. You and I will have to write up the Wikipedia on that, where we have to go to the side and we have to say who the adjutants are and how many casualties and.
Oh right, yeah, the great leaders.
Yeah.
The great leaders of the pronoun wars. Yeah, there's probably quite a few of them out there. The first casualties, like Eddie Izzard.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, he was a pioneer of that, but yeah, you have like.
Oh yeah, but he got Robespierre real fast.
Oh yeah. There's Field Marshal Kurt Schilling and
Who was surrounded and defended the Alamo. Yeah. Then everybody realized he was a terrible human being. Yeah.
well, and then you'll find guys that were
Great Field Marshal Kurt Schilling.
yeah, and there will be certain things where there are certain casualties where, like, it was deserved because they're not going to turn around and say like, y'all gave Michael Richards a hard time. It's like, nah, he shouted the N-word a whole bunch of times.
A lot. Yeah.
In a comedy club because he was pissed off.
Yeah.
That's not this.
Yeah. Well, and The Great Escape of Paula Dean. Yeah. So, who tunneled out of her own prison. Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of stories from the Great Pronoun Wars.
Oh, yeah.
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 So, we'll write that history together someday.
And we'll
get canceled if we do it too soon.
You
got to wait till after the trials.
Now's not the time.
Now's not the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, now's not the time.
Yeah.
You got to wait till they shoot Hermann Goering. Well, actually, he killed himself. So, yeah.
Right. And it's,
well, you got to track down that dude who flees to Brazil.
Mengele.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because he is.
No, it was Eichmann. Eichmann was the guy. Mengele was the guy who drowned.
But he did get away, if I recall.
He did for a while, but
Yeah.
they found him and he drowned. It was Eichmann that they pulled back. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh man, see, that's the shit that I remember from studying Nazis. So
You know what?
hopefully that doesn't fucking come full circle. So
Yeah. Well, man, because that's going to be one of the categories is number of Nazis identified, number of Nazis called, number of times. Like you just go into Twitter right now, go to search,
God.
see how many results for Nazi come up.
oh shit. Well, yeah. But in the Great Pronoun Wars, it'd be really sad if, like, 60 years in the future, they actually track down some 80-year-old dude and, put him on trial because he was a guard, because he tweeted twice, and actually just maintained the books.
Well, you got to remember, like, this is the unlawful occupiers right now, right? Those are the ones that we're talking about. Right.
Yeah, you're right.
So these are the ones that are going to be put on trial.
These are the guys who are roaming around the Ukraine after the Wehrmacht went past. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, the Nazi references are getting a little thick here. So let's not do that.
Let's not do that.
Yeah, let's not do that.
All right.
Let's start talking about 88 centimeter shells or whatever.
Yeah, but
Millimeter. Sorry.
but yeah, as it's said before, like, we are of that age where we get to have opinions on German artillery.
That is true, yeah. I played Panzer General, so... Right, yeah.
You know what, though? You said played.
Correct.
Not present tense.
No, I don't play.
Correct.
I played.
Now we're on to, like, we work on the railroads and
I do work on
cities
railroads, build
and stuff like
cities,
that,
yeah, stuff. So speaking of cities, there's a new airport DLC. I didn't see a skycap desk.
Does it let you pick the year? I mean, that
I don't know. Yeah, well, it's pre 9/11 airport.
All right, one last thought, because you do have some insight into this. What do you think about the F9 buyout of Spirit? Are they a contender now?
F9 buyout of Spirit?
Frontier, yeah.
Oh, the airlines.
Yeah.
No. So
They said they became the 5th largest airline, but...
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's kind of like having a family of Mormons move in down the street. So they have the most kids all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But yeah, they haven't been... Yeah, no, I don't... So I worked for F9 when we actually got bought. Well, I'm not even going to identify as we there. Um, yeah, I was working at F9 Frontier Airlines when it was so broke ass that our largest supplier had to buy us. All right, in order so
Right,
they
right.
didn't go bankrupt.
Right.
And I'll never fly Frontier again, man. So, they're the ones who fucking stranded my wife in Phoenix during March Madness because they oversold the flight by like 50. So you can't fucking do that. So, and so she was like, well, I got to get back to work tomorrow. And she had my daughter and they let her board. Okay. And so she had a seat and everybody was buckled in and stuff like that. And some jackwagon shows up at the fucking gate with a boarding pass that had been double issued from the ticket counter. And so they gave him the fucking seats. And they literally pulled my wife and crying daughter off the plane during March Madness. And then she was like, well, get me back home. And they're like, well, it's March Madness, so we're fucking full up. We can get you back next Wednesday. And she was like, that's not going to work. And they said, okay, fine, we're going to cash out your fucking ticket. So, and she's like, well, what do I do? Take Greyhound back, because everything was booked.
Yeah,
all right. There's no
yeah.
protection of passengers and stuff like that. And so F9, like merging with, what is it? Horizon? No. Spirit. So I don't know that much about Spirit. Maybe they're legit.
That's why I was asking you, because I've seen their name a million times. I always consider them like to be the RC Cola of airlines, but I don't know if that's true.
Well, I know they were big back east for a while, and they started getting bigger and bigger. So, but the thing about like Frontier in particular is like that company's been through that company is a zombie airline. It has been through bankruptcy more times than I think United has, which is pretty impressive.
I think 3.
At least, well, there was one time where they folded shop for like a decade, and then somebody like pulled them out of the grave and made a new airline, that they called Frontier and put animals on the fucking, thing. So it's
I was talking about United. I was like,
United?
yeah.
Oh, well, United's dodged death like 10 times by changing themselves from UAL to United Corp to United LLC or something like that. Every single time they do it, they just shed all their pensions. Assholes. So, but that's what you can do in bankruptcy court. And so, like, Frontier merging with Spirit. I don't know, man. I'm a Southwest guy now. I've only flown them once. I was absolutely convinced that, okay, fine. There was no, like, bullshit or anything like that. And I mean, coming up in the age where I had to wear a tie on the fucking plane.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, if, like, there's no airline out there that's going to make you wear a tie, then I'm going to fly this one. Okay? Because at least their shit runs on time. They don't lose your bags. It's no frills, but I guarantee you they actually wipe down their tray tables, which is better than anything we ever did at Frontier. And so an F9 Spirit like merger seems like almost an act of desperation,
Up to desperate parties.
I apparently,
No.
I don't know, man. So, but I've been predicting the death of American Airlines for 2 decades.
They live on, though.
Yeah, they live on somehow. People fucking sign up for miles, even though it's bullshit. So,
I have United miles.
why? Just because you used a credit card that had United like miles attached to it?
Yeah, I was flying them.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm fine. So, but like air travel is ass. So, like now, and I'm an experienced flyer, man. I've flown a lot.
Yeah, you sure have.
I've flown a lot,
Yeah.
and like now, it's like I will pay that extra $100 to have a nonstop flight just so I can get the fuck out of here as fast as possible.
Well, same thing goes for me when it came down to, okay, well, there really is a difference between first class and steerage at this point.
Yeah. Well, if the ship sinks, they lock the door until you guys get out. So
That's a good ending point as I can think
yeah,
of.
exactly. The Titanic of airlines. So I'm sorry if you're poor and Irish or Italian. You got to bang on the grate until this thing's half fucking sunk.
Well, that was fun. All right. Any last thoughts?
No, man, I'll rant on airlines in a different episode.
All right.
So,
All right.
I
That's a
think
good
I
one.
got it a little bit out of my blood tonight.
That was a
Thank you.
good one. Well, you know, we had a little bit of you know, griping to do, and we did it. We did it well.
This was a politics-heavy episode.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't have a whole ton of topics here because we sort of stuck on this. But you know, this is not their business. We can go ahead and put that in. Who are you?
I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
This is...
No, just hit the button.
Okay. Bye.